This is everything I learned in AI automation in 2024. And I'm just going to talk high level here and go through a few points that I've noticed. And it really all started for me in the beginning of 2024. I had a pet care education company at the time, was doing about $500,000 a year. And I wanted to remove myself out of the business as much as possible because we were looking to sell it. And so I started building these AI automations, and it came from looking at a software tool called Cast Magic, which those guys have absolutely crushed it and good on them. But I realized that all Cast Magic was actually doing was taking the transcript from a podcast and then referencing that transcript for all of these other prompts. I was like, rather than me paying $100 a month, surely I can just build that myself with a few automation tools like Zapier or Make.com. I didn't really know much about them at the time, and do it for way cheaper so that I only need to pay for usage rather than paying $100 a month all the time. So I sat down for a few weeks and I did that. I started making progress, and I learned that what we're paying $100 a month for with Cast Magic, we could actually do for like $2 or $3 maximum with our own automations. And that was when we were at scale doing like 20 plus interviews a month, plus a whole lot of other stuff. So that was pretty interesting to me. And it really led me down the rabbit hole of like diving into this. Content Automation OS appeared, and then the rest is history. We've had, more than 1,000 customers this year now. I ended up selling that pet care education business to dive into this space because I believe that there's a huge amount of opportunity here. But there's a whole lot of other things that are happening under the surface, which not a lot of people are talking about or taking notice of when it comes to AI automation. And one of them, which I'm going to get to at the end for my predictions of next year, is that the AI automation space could actually get totally wiped out already within the first few years of starting to become a thing. So I'm going to get to that at the end. But the first one I want to talk about is the future of AI for teams. This is more of an understanding of AI in general and how we can be using it in our business. I believe that we're moving away from having specialists in our teams who do the thing. So what I mean by that, for example, you might hire like a content marketer. And instead of having a content marketer on your team, you would actually have content agents or content workflows built into the company. And the person who manages those systems or those workflows is the person on your team. I believe that it won't be the person like you or me or some sort of marketer that you hire who is doing all of the work. So there won't be any copywriting. There probably will be very little to no design eventually. There'll be definitely not scheduling and all of that type of stuff. It'll be done by AI agents and different workflows and softwares that we build into each of the business process workflows. So we're actually moving out of specialist skills and into more generalized skills where somebody understands the entire workflows that they need to operate, to go from idea through to content creation and then publishing it online as well, or planning the project or doing the finance, whatever that thing is. So actually probably looking to hire architects of workflows in future rather than the specialist type of people. Now that's not immediate. It's probably 2, 3, 4 years away, but that's definitely the direction that we're going. The next thing I want to talk about is the mistakes that I first made when we started using Make.com that I see almost everybody making now as well. We're approaching these tools like Make.com, like N8N, like these other automation tools out there as if they are the place to make the prompts themselves when it comes to AI automation. So a lot of people are putting the actual prompt to do the work inside of Make.com. And I think this completely defeats the purpose of what Make.com and these other tools were built for. They were built to mimic what you could do with coding, but with no code. And if you think about the software tools that people are building for AI automation or for just in general, there's very few AI prompts that are inside of the software themselves. They give you control as the user to input your own prompts, and maybe they'll provide some templates and maybe there'll be a little bit of prompting on the inside, but they're giving as much control to the user as possible. And this is how we need to think about Make.com and these other tools as well, is that we need to give the user, even if the user is ourselves, as much control as possible inside a certain dashboard. So rather than automating workflows inside of Make.com, you would actually need like some sort of base to build from. And that base could be as simple as Google Sheets, or it can be more complicated tools like Airtable, which is our preference. Smart Suite is another good option. Or it could even be project management tools like Notion or ClickUp, where that holds all of your prompts, that holds the workflows, and then Make.com and these other automation tools are the tools to automate the workflows. So that's why the Content Automation OS that we built is so advanced right now, but no one really understands the concepts of having a prompt library, of having one output section for your AI. There's so many advanced things that you can do when you approach it that way that you just can't do when you start prompting inside of Make. Second to that is if you need to change that prompt, which you'll probably need to do for every different type of model that you use, every different business that you use, then you can't actually really do that without logging into Make, which is slow. You've got to wait for it to load. You've got to find your scenario. But if you give yourself control in the base, then it becomes so much more user friendly. Then there's more likely to be adoption from yourself, that where you continue using it all the time instead of getting bored and frustrated after 2 weeks. Your team will use it more, your clients will use it more. That is like the purpose of giving as much control inside a base as we can. And then use these Make automations to be the systems behind the actual automations themselves. The other high level thing that I've definitely noticed is that the smartest automation experts have not entered the game yet. Right now, there's very few people out there, and largely they're all people getting into the game for the first time, inexperienced business owners, which is great. I have nothing bad to say about that. I think it's awesome. And they're much smarter than I was when I first got started. They're picking a trend that is going to be huge, and that's where they're diving in for the first time, which is great. But contrary to that, it means that they don't have a lot of experience when it comes to what business owners actually want and need inside of their business, and the intricacies and nuances that come along with that. So for example, like I have a really good friend. She is a business consultant. She's helped businesses anywhere from a few $1 million a year right up to a company worth $500 million a year. And she helps remove the founder out of the business as much as possible so that the business can run without the founder, and so that the team operates with a sense of responsibility, a great culture where they love to show up. And she runs that entire consulting business just by installing spreadsheets into their business and then training them up to have to do these certain things on these certain days. Like a tool like that, if she was to build it inside of Airtable, automate all of the main workflows, use a bit of AI to make sure that it is customized to every single business, that's a template that could completely change millions of businesses around the world. And it's these types of experts who have the knowledge of doing the same thing for 10, 20, 30 years that are still making so much money the old way, where they have a big team, they're all specialists in that team, they might be using a little bit of ChatGPT. They've not gone deep on AI automation just yet. When those people enter the game, that's when like automation is going to change, because there's going to be really solid products that come out of that is universal for everybody to use. The other examples of this are your classic internet marketers who have really epic funnels. Like they're still really great marketers, right? Like when they turn their workflows into automations, that's when there's some really solid people going to come into the game. And that's why content automation OS that I created took off fairly quickly as well, is because it came from a need from me trying to remove myself out of the business. Now, the flip side to that was some of these tools were actually way too experienced for people who are getting started, and it's just overwhelming to get started and they get confused and get off track. So the biggest mistake that I made was probably around positioning. So we're going to fix that in 2025. But the point is, the smartest people haven't entered the game yet. And the most advanced automations that could change your business as well has not been created yet, potentially. So like keeping that in mind, there could be huge progress made in 2025 if people do dive into this a whole lot deeper. And I'm trying to get some of my friends involved, right? Like I know an amazing business operations and culture person. I know Australia's #1 sales guy. Like there's some really great people that I would love to get more involved in this space, but I need to build up the community first to make sure it's worth their time as well. The next one I want to talk about is the easiest money right now. And this has come directly from a case study within my community, but it's also just the general trend that I see right now. And I'm going to tie this into the next point that I was going to make as well, is the harder money to make right now, even though many AI automation creators will tell you differently, is actually becoming an AI automation agency. If you're aiming to become an AI automation agency, it's a good play, but the first 12 to 18 months, maybe 2 years, is actually going to be quite difficult for you because you're trying to convince business owners of a new habit or a new way to do things. If you know anything about human psychology, we resist new things so much. Even business owners who are most optimistic, they're always trying to protect the downside. So the calculation is, if I spend 2, 3, 5, 10, 20 grand with this person, are they actually going to help me make more than that money back? And that's a big bet for a lot of business owners, right? Now, there's some businesses that means nothing to them, so they're probably going to take a chance on you. But for a lot of people, that's a big bet. Whereas there's a lot of people making money of like teaching you how to build an AI automation agency, because, that's always going to be a thing, teaching you how to make more money. So that's like the harder part. Can it be done? Absolutely. Are there people doing it? Yes, of course there are. But that's the harder part. The easier way to make money right now, and this is probably the easiest money on the internet, I would say, is that you take all of the skills that you are learning from AI automation on how to do YouTube video editing, how to do podcast editing and distributing, how to do social media in a more streamlined way, how to do just focus on one stream social media. Like, for example, you could say, go to every YouTuber and say, hey, I'm going to build you a following on X for $500 a month, and I'm going to post like 50 times a week or something like that. These are the types of businesses where you can make great money really quickly, because people know that they need to be on social media. They know they need to be creating content. It's been around for a long time now, and everybody is hearing about it constantly. So like, there's nothing that you need to convince the business owners in that space. You simply need to present them with a really amazing offer, which you can now do by automating like 80% of your business and undercut everybody else. Like, it's one of the best business models out there is to take a business model where somebody is charging $5,000 a month and going to a business owner saying, hey, we'll do that for $2,000 a month, plus we'll give you this, this, and this that your current person is not actually providing you just yet. And the reason why you can do that is because those people at that scale, let's say they have 1,000 clients, they have teams and systems that are being built in and optimized based on the old way of doing business for the last 10, 15 years. So they don't have the knowledge and the skills and the foresight as to what's coming. So you could replace, 5 team members within those businesses with AI automation. And then that immediately frees up the $3,000 extra that they're actually charging their clients, because they have to pay their staff and so forth. So I think that's a great business model right now. There's still a part of me that is considering opening up a couple of those, because they're so easy to run. You implement the processes and the systems. A large part of those businesses can be run by offshore talent, and then you might just need a business manager to keep the entire business running, and it'll basically run itself. And then as you're creating content and having people approach you, you have your multiple options then. So maybe you want to focus more on AI automation, but you have also your content creation agency as well that helps those people who understand that they need to do a little bit more around content or whatever, but they don't want to learn the skills of AI automation. So then you have a couple of channels, which could be very interesting business model. And Christopher, within my community, he went from 0 to 10K a month in 30 days or 35 days doing this exact strategy. He saw the potential of taking your traditional content agencies, automating most of the work, and then giving the clients a really great offer. I think he charges like $1,000 a month for a really solid content plan. So that's a great way to be making money now, and then of course into the future as well. And finally, I want to talk about the systems design approach to automation. And I did tie this in a little bit earlier, but the big thing that I've learned this year is that we need to approach any type of AI automation project as a system, not as an automation. So it's actually two very different thought processes. A system is something that can be scaled up, that you can add more things into very easily, that you can adapt and integrate and optimize, and all of these types of things inside the system itself, and it's not going to break. You don't have to rebuild it over and over again. Whereas when we think about automation, we're just thinking about like the next step that we need to automate, and then the next step inside of that automation, inside of like the Make.com tool dashboard or whatever. And by doing that, like I said, you have to then make all of your edits and your changes and your prompts inside of the Make dashboard, it's just so inefficient. This was by far the best learning that I've had this year, was coming at it from a systems design approach and really thinking about these automations in a much smarter way that allows us to build something that's really solid, that gives the user a lot of control. So I'd encourage you to really dive into that. And we do have a great masterclass inside the community with Roscoe Patterson, where we did dive into this a little bit more, and how you can actually go and find these experts who have the skills and the expertise and the knowledge that they've built up over 10 years, and pull out all of that information and build their own system around them. Like, there's some really good opportunity in that as well. So yeah, it's really just going back to like first principles thinking for every single automation that we start building, And another really great approach that I had, which when I first built the content automation system, we had like 40 something automation scenarios that we had to build, which is pretty wild. And a question that I kept asking, and this was based on like a shorts video of Elon Musk, which is, what can I pull out of the system and the system will still run and work? And by just working through that in my mind and mind mapping it out and brainstorming and like looking at the system over and over again, I took those 40 odd scenarios down to 5. And the system now does the same, if not more, and in a much higher quality or even better than when we first got started. So like doing those types of exercises of like, what can I remove from this and it still works or makes it even better? Like those are the best questions I ask. And those are the types of processes that you need to put in place in order to continue leveling up all the time. We want to be building in smarter and faster ways, even when it does come to no code, because it helps in so many ways. Helps us build things faster, which means we can sell faster, which means we can deliver to our clients faster, which means the maintenance also way lower and easier to take care of. All of those reasons are really great reasons to be thinking about this, and so that you can build much better things. Now, I didn't want to finish this video without diving into a few predictions as well. And it's so hard to really think about predictions because things are moving so fast in AI. But there's 2 big ones that I want to talk about. And number one, next year, I think we'll begin to see a whole lot more around like infinite memory when it comes to these AI LLMs. So like you can see ChatGPT and Claude and others adding more and more memory to the prompts inside of their own dashboards. And I think we'll get a whole lot more access to this inside of automations as well. We can already do that with ChatGPT assistants, with thread IDs and things like that. But I think we're going to begin to see infinite memory, which is going to allow us to build some really cool things, but it's also going to be another learning process. And especially it's going to come back to a systems design process of like, okay, what workflows do we want infinite memory on? Because it's probably going to cost more. And then what workflows do we not want them on, and start to split our workflows and our automations by those 2 different variables as well. So that's going to be an interesting process to work into each of the projects and each of the systems designs that we're putting together, is figuring out where is infinite memory best served. So that's going to be one interesting concept to look at next year in 2025. And the other big one, which everybody knows about, which actually could wipe out the entire AI automation industry before we even really get started, are AI agents. So like there's so many unknowns in this right now. Like, is it going to be so much easier to just use a ChatGPT dashboard and have agents that will go in and do all of these things that we're building out inside of make.com and just do them for you? Like, can the agents go through and just dive into each of our tools, write the right things, pull the transcripts, write the headlines, schedule the emails? Like, is that going to be where AI agents get to? Now, we're probably not going to see that in an entire year. Like, it's going to be a stepping stone. But the AI agent space is pretty interesting. I'm keeping a close eye on it. And there's definitely going to be some major progress in there. But it comes back to like number one, right? The future of teams. The future of teams is workflow architects who are managing AI agents and probably AI automations as well, which is both scary and exciting. But what I love about this, and the big reason why I'm diving deep into this now, is I believe in the next couple of years, we should be able to build teams of AI agents and a few really smart people to just scale any type of company massively. The real advantages for business owners over the next few years is no doubt that it is AI. And also the other big moat that I'll encourage most people to get started with is also having an audience to distribute to, whether that is partnering with someone who's building an audience or whether that is building that audience yourself. But the audience component of business is absolutely going to be essential moving forward. Like, we can just see that's the direction where most people are going. There'll still be ads, they will continue to run advertising, will never go away. But those with audiences, we're already seeing it all around the world. It started in the US with all the big content creators building billion-dollar companies within a couple of years. It's starting to come to Australia now. I'm noticing a couple of the big creators here in Australia are building drink companies very quickly and those types of things. It's here already. So having an audience is absolutely essential. And like I said, you don't have to do it yourself. You could partner with somebody who's building an audience and then build up together. Like, there's a lot of value in that as well. but there's definitely those modes. AI for building the business and automating the workflows so you can reduce costs, and then content creators for building the audience, creating trust so that you have immediate distribution on those products. So that's everything I learned in 2024. It's my predictions for 2025. I'd love to hear from you in the comments as well. There's a lot of really smart people that listen to these videos, and a lot of my insights have actually come from YouTube video comments as well. So I'd love to hear from you down below, and I'll see you next year.